Let me take you with me to this sacred valley, where there's peace and the river gently flows. Sheep and cattle are grazing in green pastures, and you ride a horse wherever you go. I was standing on the hill above the valley, and two riders rode up to me. It was Roy Rogers and Gene Autry. Sam, you're invited to see some things here, and we want to show you around. Everyone here will be riding a horse, and as I turned, I saw Hoss and little Joe Cartwright. They had a beautiful Appaloosa mare for me to ride. We started riding down into the valley, and we saw other riders everywhere. There was Dale Evans, Patsy Cline, and Tammy Wynette, and Skeeter Davis, all riding together. And we looked over, and there was Conway Twitty, Jack Green, and Dan Seals, and Freddie Fender singing in Spanish. And there was Eddie Rabbit. As we rode on down in the valley, Roy said to me, "You see that big stone gray house over there? That's where Johnny Cash and June live. And that big black carriage there with all them black horses, that's how they ride around this valley." Then we looked over in a field of bluegrass, and there was Bill Monroe and all of his boys. And there was a little carriage coming down the road, and it was Roy Acuff and Cousin Minnie Pearl. Oh, what a sight to see. As we listened to the hills, we could hear the sounds of the piano of Floyd Kramer, and the guitars of Merle Travis and Joe Maphis, and Roy Nichols, and the steel guitar of Speedy West. And there was a lane filled with Gretsch guitars. He said, "That's the home of Chet Atkins." Now Gene said to me, "You see that great big white house over there? Why, that's where the greatest song in country music hangs, and that's the home of George Jones. And that little log cabin up behind him, that's where Grandpa Jones lives. And String Bean, you know, is his neighbor." As we rode along, he said, "You know, Keith Whitley came too early, but Dottie West did give us our country sunshine. And Boxcar Willie still blows that train whistle, and Roger Miller sings King of the Road. And trucking songs are a great part of this valley. Dave Dudley, the day was so beautiful, and seeing Hank Williams and Audrey riding double on a big white stallion. Down across this valley of country music, for all who had dedicated their time, and most of their time writing and singing songs for people everywhere. The hereafter for old country music, when our lives on earth come to an end. The sacred valley of country music, Red Foley said it all, amen. You know, Ernest Stubbs still has his record shop here, and Waylon Jennings still talks about the Dukes. And you know, we still have rodeos here, and you know Chris Ledoux runs them for us. And the Canadian boys like Hank Snow and Stompin' Tom and Wilf Carter, they're here with us. And Marty Robbins riding down into El Paso. And there's Kitty Wells riding with Hank Thompson. You remember the Honky Tonk Angels? And Lefty Brazil with his long black veil. Porter Wagner, how could we ever forget the suits that he wore on the Grand Ole Opry? Berlin Husky, he's here too with Gone. And Charlie Rich, He's the one that put us behind these closed doors. And Don Gibson, I can't stop loving you. And that house down there with the big guitar swimming pool, you know who that is? That's Webb Pierce. And Eddie Arnold still does the cattle call here. Henson Cargill only had one hit, but it was a big one. Skip a rope. As we came to the end of the valley, we saw Farron Young and Tex Ritter. And then they said to me, you gotta go now, but you haven't paid enough dues to be in this valley yet. And as I walked out through the gate, there was Johnny Horton and Bonnie Owens. Have a safe trip back to Alaska, Sam. In the center of the valley, one more thing. There was Jimmy Dean with Big Bad John. And Buck Owens and a couple of his buckaroos, Don Rich and Tom Brumley, playing that Bakersfield sound. For all the stars that made their way through Nashville and the Grand Ole Opera where they sang their songs, at the end of their long journey to the Sacred Valley is where they're